Friday, March 1st, 2024. It is about 11:30 in the morning. I'm off today. I'm running some errands and I'm on my way home, back home. I just wanted to make a video because I intend to write a post on social media about this, but I think a video would also be good. Okay, so it's about Doki, of course. For those of you who don't know, Doki is my doggy, my French poodle. I had to put him to sleep this past Wednesday morning. Today is Friday. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I had to do it with Chewy in the past. Back in 2020, on April 2nd, 2020, I had to put Chewy to sleep. He was almost 15 years old. Doki would have turned 15 on June 3rd this year. So he was 14 and a half, a little bit over. I want to let people know what it was that Doki had and what made me do what I did, put him to sleep. A lot of people, or some people had, and if some people see pictures or videos or that I've posted, the videos that I posted of his euthanization at the vet. You can see most of the time I had Doki had his glasses on, his goggles on, and he looked cute in his goggles, but that wasn't the reason. That wasn't the only reason or the main reason why I would put the goggles on, was because of that tumor. He had a tumor that grew from the underside of his left eye. He had been growing that tumor since it started. I first noticed it, and it started growing March. It was actually March. Well, it was. I posted it on Instagram. I think it was March 20th, 2021. So it was going to be 3 years this month, that he had been growing that tumor. Initially, I thought that it was, well, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was cherry eye. I noticed that it was swollen, his under eyelid right here. I noticed that it was swollen. So it'd been slow. I had been noticing for a few weeks, and I got concerned, and I took him to the holistic vet that I found one closer to my house, and I took him for an evaluation, and she didn't know what it was really. She thought that it could be cherry eye, it could resolve on its own. She prescribed like an ointment, and she did acupuncture. She started him on acupuncture treatments. Anyway, the tumor kept growing turned out to be a tumor. I didn't know it was a tumor, so it kept growing. When it was covering half of his eye, she referred me to a veterinary ophthalmologist, and I took him there, and the ophthalmologist did an examination and everything, and he determined that it was in fact a tumor that was growing from under his eye. Doki was already 11, going on 12, 11, going on 12. So he was too old for the surgery because he said, the ophthalmologist told me I could remove it, I would have to remove the entire eye, which was devastating to me just to hear that. I made a video on TikTok. I have a video on TikTok about that, about the day that I got the diagnosis that it was in fact a tumor. He finished explaining the reason why he couldn't have surgery. His age, and he had been having lung issues for a while. So sometimes he would, get a little bit of clogging, and he would cough and stuff like that. The surgeon told me if he would have been younger and he wouldn't have any issues with his lungs, then I would say do it, and let's do the surgery. But he said because of his age and because of his lung issues, the anesthesia will most likely put him on respiratory arrest, which basically means that he would stop breathing and he would die. So surgery was not an option, in other words. So I took him home, and I said, there is absolutely nothing I can do about this. I just need to let time pass and see what happens. The tumor was not malignant because it was not spreading anywhere else, and it was basically a growth. When it got bigger, I took him back to the vet, and I wanted to make sure that he wasn't hurting, that the tumor itself was not causing him pain. The vet told me no. The vet told me that definitely was not showing any signs of having any pain. She told me that Doki was not aware that he had the growth, that he had that tumor there. So the thing about it is, whenever he would get happy, whenever my sister got home, Maji, I would tell him that we're gonna go out, or for a bike ride or walk or whatever, he would get really happy. And then, as doggies do, and as he used to do, he would, rub his face on the sofa or the carpet or whatever, the floor. And the difference between doing that now or then, and before the tumor, was not that now he had that growth, that tumor, and he would break it, he would cause it to bleed, he would start bleeding, just not profusely or anything like that. It was just a little bit of blood. I would clean it, I would stop, I would put ointment on it, and it would be fine. And then, I would have to watch him to make sure that he wouldn't do that. But I couldn't watch him 24 hours. I wasn't going to be holding his little head. So anyway, he with time, he was totally blind because the tumor took over basically his eyesight from that eye. But then on top of that, he had cataracts. So his other eye, he couldn't see out of the other eye either. So he had a white little eye with cataracts, and he had that tumor, that horrible tumor, covering his left eye. But other than that, he was fine. Like I said, I made sure that he was not in pain. The other doctor described it, that the ophthalmologist described it as, kind of like a wart, it's just something, it's a piece of, meat or flesh that's growing there, and it bleeds because it has blood vessels. But Doki was not in pain. He was not showing any signs of pain. He was not panting. He was not trying to scratch it. He was not whimpering, crying, nothing. I mean, even to the touch, whenever he did scratch it and against something and he bled a little bit, I would put ointment on it to stop the bleeding. It would stop right away, and he wouldn't even move. He wasn't even aware that I was, and I would grab the tumor and just kind of go around it, and he wouldn't even make a gesture, a sound. He wouldn't react to it, like he wasn't feeling it, which was the reason why I just let time go by and I kept him, because he was fine. He was enjoying life with me, even though he was blind, even though he couldn't see. He was giving me love. I was giving him love. I would take him everywhere I went. I would take him bike riding, take him hiking. I would take him to the mall in his stroller. He could hardly walk. I would walk him around the block, around the house, but he was blind, so he just couldn't see. So he would walk on his leash for a little while, but then he would not want to walk anymore. So walking was limited. It was, but I would make sure that I would take him out. Most of you know that I would take him to work. I was fortunate to work at a place where the manager allowed me to take him to work. So I would bring him in the stroller. He would sleep in a little storage room that was open. I would take him out at around 3. There were trees in front of the clinic. I worked for Angel's Wellness and Injury Clinic in Kissimmee. If you need a chiropractor, we're here for you. Been in a car accident, Angel's Wellness, they'll take care of you. So I would take him outside at around 3, because I work an 11-hour shift, 12 hours basically the entire day, and then I would bring him back in, and he would just fall asleep in his stroller or on his little bed that I would bring on the floor, and he would just until 7 when I would leave, I would go home. So he was fine. It worked out great. I hardly ever had any, no barking at all, but then sometimes, like if he had diarrhea, then he would bark just once and let him know, like off of our time schedule. I usually brought him out at 3, but if he had diarrhea, he may bark once, like at 5 or something like that, but that happened maybe twice in all the time that I've been working there. So he was very good. He's always been a very good doggy, and it was a good fit. It worked. I was able to bring him to work, and it worked out, and it was fine. And I'm very grateful to my bosses at Angel's Wellness for allowing me to bring my little doggy to work every day. You don't get that with most employers, so thank you. I'll always be grateful. what led me to finally take him to the bed and put him to sleep on Wednesday. Okay, two things happened. He had a bleeding episode on Saturday night. Last Saturday night, he had a bleeding episode. He, Maji had gotten home, and, of course, no fault of Maji. He got really excited, and he started rubbing against, the sofa, and the tumor had just grown too big. I mean, it was 2 inches already out from his eye socket, and it was just too out there. It just looked like a piece of meat. It wasn't even a ball. It was kind of like a big thumb or a finger, like a fat finger, so he broke it, he tore it a little bit, and he started bleeding pretty badly. I did take video of that because I wanted to show the vet. I was able to stop the bleeding that day. That was on Saturday night. I was able to stop the bleeding like always, but that time, that was the worst that I had ever seen him, or that he had ever bled on Saturday night, last Saturday night, this past Saturday night. Today's Friday. So I was able to stop the bleeding and put ointment, and he was fine. But I was, of course, Doki was totally dependent on me for his last the last few months, the last almost year. The last year, I want to say, totally dependent. He was totally blind, and I would have to pick him up, to take him and stand him in front of his food plate and water, and take him outside, put him outside, bring him back in. I couldn't have him walk in on his own. He would get lost. He just was totally blind. So I was always with him. I was always watching out for him, and I would always pick him up, and whatever he needed, I would be there for him. So that happened on Saturday. On Tuesday night, this past Tuesday night, again, he started scratching. He started shaking his head again, and of course, because he had a tear from Saturday that was pretty bad, he started bleeding even more, and then I was able to stop the bleeding again, and I took him to bed. And then a few minutes after we went to bed, he started shaking again, and then when I turned on the light, the blood was just squirting out. It was horrible. It was horrible. I took him to the bathroom. I cleaned them out. There was blood everywhere. The bathroom, the floor, just on my bed, on everything. So that was on Tuesday night, and that's when I decided that the next morning that I wasn't gonna wait any longer. That I was going to take him to the vet the very next morning. I almost took him to an emergency vet that on Tuesday night, that night. But if I had not been able to stop the bleeding, then I would have. But I wanted to take him to his original vet, Dr. Amy, who had been, seeing him for a long time, and I knew the place, and Doki knew the place, and so I decided I was able to stop the bleeding, and he and then I waited until the following morning on Wednesday morning, and I had called ahead and left a voice message that I was coming, and then I got there at 8, and he went very peacefully. he was, the thing with him was he was healthy otherwise. I mean, he had been having skin conditions for a very long time, and I was able to control that totally. So no more skin conditions for him, and he was healthy otherwise. He was eating, he was drinking water, he was pooping fine. So other than that tumor, he was fine, and he wasn't in pain. The tumor was not giving him any pain. So if it weren't for the fact that he tore it like that, and it was eventually going to happen, I know that eventually I was going to have to do this because he was healthy otherwise. So the tumor would have kept growing. So how far would how big could have gotten? There was nothing I could do. And the bleeding profusely the second day, the second time on Tuesday night, gave me the strength to actually take him to the vet and put him to sleep. He went really fast. They did 2 injections. I was holding him. First injection was to it's an anesthesia basically or something, just to relax him, just to send him on a trip. And then the second injection was to stop the breathing and the heart. And once the anesthesia took over, the injection to relax him took over, he just kind of lost, he got really, just really flexible. He just kind of like relaxed, and he just kind of limp, really limp in my arms, and but he was still there. I was talking to him. I have a video. And then the second injection, he was still breathing, of course, and then it was pretty quick. The breathing stopped almost immediately after she gave him the injection. So, and she checked the heart, and the heart stopped. So that's what happened. I want to make sure that people know that even though the tumor looked really bad, it looked horrible, Doki was not in pain. I would not have let him live for as long as he did with the tumor had he been in pain. I don't want to hear it from people that don't know what they're talking about and were not there, like I was. Words like, he's no longer suffering. He wasn't suffering in the first place. He was fine. He was fine if it weren't for that freaking tumor. He was aware of the places that I would take him, the trips, the bike rides, it's everything. He was happy. And the reason why he tore the tumor was because of happiness, because he got happy, and so it's very, very devastating to me. It's heartbreaking. It's the beginning of getting used to not having him at home. Just everything looks different. The house looks different. I have no desire to go do the things that I used to do with him. I don't know. I just feel so alone right now. I don't want to go biking anymore. I don't want to go hiking anymore. I don't want to. What am I going to do walking in the mall? I mean, I used to go because of the exercise, I don't like going to the mall, but I would, and to give him a ride in the stroller, so that he would enjoy the ride. He's my Doki. He's my baby. And now he's not with me anymore. And I don't know how much more my heart is gonna take. I don't know. how I'm even able to breathe. I'm pretty calm right now, and I'm grateful because I was able to make this video. So anyway, I apologize to those who thought it was too long. If you watched till the end, thank you. I appreciate it. Leave a comment. And thank you for watching.